What? Yes, of course they're serious.
Pressing investigators for new information after deputies say a body was found in a burning vehicle near a Disney mini golf course this weekend. News 6's Jerry Askin joins us now live. And Jerry, have police released any more information about this case?
Ginger, no, and perhaps that is why it's so scary for so many Disney visitors, many who had no idea a body was found inside of a car here over the weekend. And we all know it's no secret. Investigations take time, but you may imagine many visitors still want answers. Right now at 4, as many families are enjoying what's known as the happiest place on earth.
I came with both my sons and my wife.
Big questions regarding a big scene on Disney's property after a body was found inside of a car in this parking lot here by the Fantasia Gardens golf course around 4 a.m. Saturday.
Both my husband and I just kind of gasped and looked at each other in shock.
Today, Sky 6 hovering over the scene as orange cones blocked off the area where the car was found. You see a circle with an X drawn through, perhaps marking the spot where investigators focused their attention over the weekend.
I would think people have a right to know.
And today, deputies not releasing a lot about the investigation, only saying a person was found dead inside the car, and the fire marshal and homicide investigators are working this case. I've asked sheriff's deputies for the ID on the victim, an official cause of death, who the car was registered to, the type of car, and a possible motive. I've also asked for any and all emergency dispatch calls. The sheriff's office today responding to my email saying there were no new updates and they'll pass along more information as it becomes available.
Shock. I mean, only because it was right where we stayed last time we were here, and we knew exactly where the car was found.
Yes, scary, imaginably so, for so many Disney visitors. Now, we did reach out to Disney officials today. We're still working to get a response. Of course, we'll pass it along to you once we get it. We're live outside Disney, Orange County. I'm Jerry Askin, News 6.
The pain and hurt that comes from losing someone you love will often cause us to shut people out of our lives. Hurting tends to be a private ordeal, and this pain is a sick guttural feeling that will always remain inside, and we can only consciously ignore it and try to move on. Sure, after time the pain dulls, and ordinary life becomes easier, but the pain is still there, just waiting to be triggered to send shockwaves of emotional strife through our souls once again. In the early hours of a mid-August morning, a fire engulfs a car parked under a tree in the parking lot of the Fantasia mini golf attraction. Once the Reedy Creek Fire Department puts the fire out, a body is discovered inside the vehicle. Fear spreads rapidly through the guests of Walt Disney World, and then the story quickly disappears. Weeks later, it is revealed that the body found inside the vehicle was identified through dental records as that of 49-year-old Brian Christ, and he tragically took his own life. Brian was an outgoing and friendly Disney cast member for many years who primarily worked the Epcot and Epcot Resort areas. Epcot being his absolute favorite. He was an experienced dancer and dance instructor for the park as well. Alexis, a close friend of Brian's, first meeting him in 2012, mentions that this area of Walt Disney World was his happy place. There are sidewalks and pathways that not many guests know about since they are not part of the main parks, and he would often spend his spare time walking these, sometimes with friends, just enjoying being a Disney employee. Alexis recalls how Brian once drove in the rain to help her change a flat tire. That's just the guy he was. She went on to describe Brian as selfless, a guy that cared about other people's happiness over his own. Brian, however, had some scars from his childhood. We all do, am I right? Only, Brian's were on his face. Alexis shares with me how when Brian was much younger, he was involved in a serious car wreck that left his face scarred from burns and disfigured. He would say his looks put people off and thought they viewed him as a monster. Although everyone of every age he met, he seemed to know how to connect with and make feel special and accepted. Probably the only thing he wanted from the world, to be accepted and not feel like a beast. It's not surprising people love working at Disney, especially hurt, broken, depressed people. The fake happiness that is mandatory for all the workers to emote is a great sedative to the pain Brian probably struggled with throughout his whole life. He had a happy place inside one of the happiest places on earth. Only unhappy people need happy places, because the world is a happy place to someone not struggling with depression. The years leading up to his death, Brian's mother develops cancer, and after a very intense battle, she loses her fight roughly a year prior to his suicide. This poor, hurt man watched his mother, the only person who probably could look at him and not see the scars, wither away and die in front of him. She was his sanctuary, and sanctuary was no more. The year that preceded his mother's death, Brian became very depressed and distant. It was a battle he mostly kept private, and when friends would get too close he would put on a good show and make them think all was okay. What exactly happened the night of August 18, 2018 is unclear. Only Brian knows for sure. What we do know is around 4 a.m., the Reedy Creek Fire Department called for assistance because they had just extinguished an ordinary car fire to find human remains smoldering inside of it. On Brian's Facebook page, still up, he posts about an hour and a half earlier, "Goodbye, cruel world." Only one person replied at all. It was himself. He had deleted all of his close friends so they wouldn't see it in time, yet at 2:40 a.m. he comments on his post, "I have no one to talk to," followed with a broken heart emoji. Depression isn't rational. Depression doesn't make sense. For the next hour, as he sat in his car, whispering for help on Facebook, he makes one final comment on his post. At 3:41 a.m., minutes before the fire was reported, Brian types, "I'm sorry I didn't do better. God bless you all." He then burns himself alive in his car. This story is particularly haunting because it seems like it all could have had a very different ending or no ending at all. Brian Christ should still be alive. He retreated to his happy place, struggled for hours to find another way, and came up unnecessarily empty. While researching this story, I really got a sense of who Brian was, and he is me. I am sure he's just like you too. Someone that doesn't feel like they'll ever be perfect, someone who doesn't feel like they fit in. We are all exactly the same on the inside. Only difference, his scars were on the outside, ones he couldn't cover up and hide from. It would be nice if social media apps and websites, like Facebook, would create an algorithm to recognize suicidal posts and then contact the authorities. Brian could still be alive if even one person reached out in that almost 2-hour time span. If this all seems too familiar to you and you feel suicide could be a viable option for you, please talk to someone first.